Well, while we are seeing some turbulence within tech stocks right now, we all know how much technology, and specifically cloud-based technology, has changed our lives over the past year and how it has had to adapt as we have had to adapt. Let's talk about the road forward now. Elliott Robinson is joining us with Bessemer Venture Partners. He just put out, along with his colleagues, the 2021 State of the Cloud report. Elliott, thank you for being here. Before we sort of dive into your predictions, I do want to ask, given what we have been seeing happen in the market, how you are thinking about what this year looks like with the cloud, with sort of this adjustment to reopening, for example.
Yeah, for sure. I think, what we talked about mostly as a backdrop in our report this year is that we're living through a new normal. Regardless of how quickly things open back up, how they open back up, we're going to be in a hybrid new normal. There was never a world where I thought I'd be sending an iPad to my father so I could Zoom with him 2 to 3 times a week. And I don't think that's going to change regardless of if he's going to his favorite sushi place, on Wednesday nights. And all of us are going to be working more remote going forward. So I'm really excited about the growth in the cloud stock market. Of course, the Bessemer NASDAQ mCloud is kind of how we track it. And we're taking a long view. This is more of a decade, if not generational view on cloud software. And we still think, evidenced by the chart on the screen now, that we're still in the early innings of that.
And, Elliott, the number one, kind of prediction you guys have is the unbundling of the office, the continued unbundling, I guess. And I suppose I would ask it this way. If we look back in time, it seems like things went okay. We all went home overnight, and it seems like things went okay. But how unprepared really were we relative to what you guys think is coming down the pike? What some of the opportunities are there to make working at home a lot more enjoyable and make it make more sense, I think, than perhaps it did for a lot of 2020.
Yeah, for sure. So when we talk about unbundling the home office, a lot of that kind of perspective and philosophy and prediction starts with things like Microsoft Office, something that we've all become accustomed to over the last few decades of working, at the office. Now that we're all working at home, people had to figure out, well, how do we collaborate more? How do we get all the trains running on time? So when we looked at companies like Calendly, for example, in Atlanta, that's unbundling how we deal with our Outlook calendar. How do we all get on the same page where we can't, do the water cooler, hey, can you meet at 3:00, or get a small team together ad hoc? And then, tools like Asana in the public markets, Atlassian, that really help you collaborate and work together with your peers more. I'm telling you, this wave has been going for about the last 5 years in the public markets, and we've got another decade plus for everyone to figure out how do we do more remote first working more effectively. So when we talk about prediction one, we know for a fact in the hybrid new normal, there's going to be a huge number of companies that enter this space, and then a number of companies that achieve massive scale.
Elliott, you just referenced Microsoft, and in your report, it was really it's awesome work here. You mentioned that Microsoft Azure could surpass AWS, Amazon AWS, in market share in 3 years. Why would that happen?
Yeah, so I would say that, if you look at the places where AWS really started, so that was more consumer-facing businesses, so B2C or B2B2C. Now, as an ex-Microsoft Ventures and Microsoft employee, I saw very much firsthand how Azure broke into the market with a government focus, with a large multinational enterprise focus, and they really started to catch up where AWS had about a decade lead. And that was working with the startups at a firm like ours at Bessemer and our venture peers back, and then they become the public company. So Microsoft has, increased their credibility in the enterprise, has really done things like working with governments and highly regulated industries like healthcare to really improve its market share. And while it still, hasn't achieved the scale of AWS, if you look at our report and you track it over the last few years, their growth rate shows that it should surpass it here in the next decade for sure.
Elliott, there's a bit of news today that has directly to do with some of the issues that we're talking about, and that is Google saying it's going to spend more than $7 billion on real estate across the U.S. And this isn't just about offices. A lot of it is about data centers and the importance of data as well. Our editor-in-chief, Andy Serwer, had the chance to talk to Google CFO, Ruth Porat, as part of his Influencers series, and she talked a little bit about the investment.
In 2021, we'll be investing over $7 billion in offices and data centers across the U.S., and we are committed to creating at least 10,000 new full-time jobs for Googlers in the US. And importantly, what we're doing is we're both building on our existing major centers as well as expanding across the US. In fact, this covers investments across 19 states.
You know, it's such an interesting statement because although it's my understanding that Google actually spent $22 billion on the same sort of thing in 2020, but still an expansion, a lot of jobs, that seems to indicate that, you know, the industry is continuing, if not at the same clip of growth, certainly still a robust clip of growth, and that a lot of it is going to be within the cloud and within the data center area. Is that how you're reading this announcement as well?
Yeah, that's exactly how I'm reading it. I'll say two or three things. One, you know, as more brick and mortar businesses or traditional businesses, let's say, are doing more e-commerce and taking their platforms online, what that's really creating is a bunch more data and new ways for them to connect to their end consumer or end user. So that type of investment, whether it comes from Google or another large tech enterprise, it's really taking the long view. Yes, there's been a bit of a pullback year to date on cloud stocks and technology stocks more broadly, but you know, a company like Google is taking the long view. What I love most about the announcement when I saw it and read it was it's actually hitting, you know, more diverse cities. It's not just hitting the Bay Area where I live and work. It's hitting a lot of the cities that I really care about and lived in. So Atlanta, my home state and city of Virginia and the broader DC area. It's hitting places like Atlanta where I went to school. So outside of just making a really smart business decision, what I love most is that they're focusing on the newer tech hubs. All of these places that they're putting these dollars have incredible engineering schools, data science schools, business and finance schools. And it's great to see them opening the aperture in terms of where they're looking to recruit talent and where they're looking to grow their workforce. So all of those places I'm really excited about, and I'm really anticipating to see those new tech hubs benefit from investments like the one that Google announced.
Yeah, and especially after the last year, people are expanding their horizons of where they want to live. So it definitely makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Elliott, thank you so much for being here today. Elliott Robinson of Bessemer Venture Partners. Hope to catch up with you again soon. Thanks.